Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Lambert, Goon Glass and Rubber, located here in Lapeer, Michigan. Anyways, I keep showing videos of doing gas tanks, and I haven't really walked through the whole procedure. We're just getting it piecemeal. So if you guys are cruising through the channel, I do apologize. I'm not as technically proficient as some people, but you should be able to figure it out when you click through it, what part's what. Anyways, we're going to be working on gas tanks today. We're going to be laminating the two halves together. And this is the last process before we Caswell it and leak test it. So I'm going to start getting ready here for the procedure. All right. So I got everything I pretty much need out here to get her done. And I'm going to show you guys my sauce trick I do with my special cotton candy mix. I'm going to show you the strips being laminated on. And that's pretty much it. So we prep everything. I'm going to turn this camera down. You're going to hear my voice, but you're not going to see me. All right. So I'm trying to. So anyways, this is our gas tank. We're going to try to get her back here. We try to get as much of this thing as we can in here. So you got my laminating platform, my gas tank. I'll probably scoot over a little bit. All right. So this first procedure, what I'm going to do is mix up my cotton candy. All right. I'm not in a super huge hurry, so I'm not going to over-catalyze it. I'm going to make sure I stir it really good. So we're going to stir really good. And then I'm going to show you guys how I do this. This is clean. I got several tanks to do. I'm just only going to show you guys this one. This is a Champion gas tank for flat track motorcycles. This is one of the more easier gas tanks to do. That boy's flying out there. Woo! So what I do is I have a Ziploc bag. I scoop this out here. Makes a little like wormy thing in here. I try to get all of it. And I use this cup over it because then I can get all of it out. So once we got that all done, I do salvage my little stickaroo. I take this cup, I set it aside, and that's what I'm going to laminate out of. But I take this, all right. You could close the top. You could not close the top. But what you do is it's like a little frosting extruder, all right. So a friend of mine on the Pacific Northwest see me doing this, was like, you ever thought about it? And I said, yeah, I just really didn't have a lot of success doing it this way. And he was like, hey, maybe you should work with a cleaner set of gloves. And you want to know what? That was my problem. Actually, it was really sticky, real hard to work. So I always start with a clean set of gloves. Things are cheap. They're pretty affordable. Don't sweat it. You don't want to hit the bag on these edges right here. Be very careful. I like to start at the front. And I like to put a little bit, I like to squirt it up in there and then kind of create a bead, almost like caulk. Because it's basically what it is. You know what I mean? And then what I do is I'll extrude it out. I'll tighten her up. Now I'll extrude it out some more. And I like to kind of use the outside edge of the gas tank as a dam to move it. So most of the time I used to actually just laminate the two halves together. I stopped doing that early on because I thought, why not, add an extra layer of protection in here, another substrate, another way to bond it. And everyone who's crashed a motorcycle knows you could damage these things. And that means people have called me and they have had damage. And when they have damage, I've never had seam damage from reports from anybody. It's always something in the top or someone slammed through the bottom of the gas tank. So a lot of gas tanks will leak from the seams. That's the weakest point. That's the spot where man has done his damage. Me, whoever else is making the gas tank. You know what I mean? So you guys can see I'm running the bead here. And for a guy like me who has various skilled trades background, this isn't too hard, and it's not as a cake maker either. Done a lot of caulk work as a painter. So it's like welding with goop, pretty much. So and this kind of helps Like I said, keep the tank bonded together, forms a secondary liquid barrier. When you put that laminate over there, you guys have seen in a few minutes, it really sits down nice. All right. Little rule of thumb, you want extra on your material, but you don't want too much extra. Otherwise, you're going to be wasting stuff. So remember that. All right, so it looks pretty clean in here. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to prepare my resin. And I work out of small Dixie cups. And it's about 2 Dixie cups to do this, plus or minus, depending on the tank. So I'll fill up one. And then I'll fill up another, just to play it safe. So you guys can probably see that. So now you see me fill that up. You see me do the caulking. All right. We got these 2 cups. I'm going to move these over here. I don't want any excess catalyst to get in there. Nothing crazy like that. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to get my brush. I'm going to get my scissors. And you guys are going to start seeing me grab strips of laminate. 1-inch strip of 1.5 ounces. All right. So that's when I use to bond the 2 halves. That's typically when I've disassembled gas tanks. That's what I see. But before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to catalyze this. All right. I'm going to go a little hot on this one. So once I do that, what I do, and that's the same stick I used earlier, I get my brush wet, and then I'm going to just kind of give a real quick chase and smooth this out a little bit. Move any excess. Move some excess around. Gets it sticky. A little stickaroo. I got a hat on so you guys don't have to see my bald spot. Starting to look kind of like Gallagher. So, male pattern baldness. Hopefully someone will want to monetize my channel, one of those hair places and want to talk to me. Alright, so we got that smoothed out. Next comes up the strips. These strips. I used to do a bunch at a time. Now I only do 2 at a time. So we're going to put the strips down. I do a pre-wetting technique. And it's funny. I seen a video not that long ago of a guy making goalie helmets. And this is how he did it. He did a pre-wetting technique. So I pre-wet the strips. Get them nice and wet. You don't want to have any dryness like that right there. This will get wetted out plenty here in a second. You don't want anything to be dry. Dry means that it can be permeated by gasoline or anything else. If I have a failure in a gas tank, I will actually see it when I Caswell the gas tank, believe it or not. And if I could ever get a gas tank to fail like that, I would get it on video. So that might tell you that I'm pretty damn good with what I'm doing. All right, take the strip. I push it in the radius here. I match it up with the top. All right. And I push it in the radius. Just like that. All right. So from a business perspective, gas tanks aren't very thick. Not very thick at all. Some people in the tooling industry, I've seen them actually put strips and things to make it appear thick, so customers are like, "Oh, it's not thick enough. It's a facade." I've seen parts makers, people like that do it. I don't always do that. I just try to get this damn thing put together. All right. So what I do is I chase the radius first, and then I'll start kind of patting down the high parts of the mat, and I like to leave my edges undone until I get the next layer on. And I messed that up right there, so you guys can judge me. So come here to this edge so you can see where it's at. And there's a little excess. You're going to get a little bit of spillage in here. You're trying not to be dirty. If it's your first time doing it, I'll guarantee you're going to make a mess. And that's fine. It's a learning process. I got over 10 years of doing stuff like this. So no one is expecting you to be perfect. And that's completely fine. So this is all joined right here. Next step, you get 2 more strips. And this is where stuff gets fairly interesting. So with these 2 more strips, these are going to have to be, they don't have to be, but I'm actually going to cut them. I'm going to cut the laminate. So we're back down here. We got our 2 strips. I'm going to wet them out. There's a little bit of residual resin there. This is going to pick up. So I get them nice and wet. This is something that when I do make, I tend to be a tad bit resin heavy on the gas tanks being joined, especially. Helps to hold on, to help seal in that petroleum goodness. Whatever you're putting in there, water. When you buy this thing, I have a warning tag underneath it, but it's your gas tank, and this is America. Or if you're from Sweden and you buy it, you can do whatever you want with the gas tank. But it is called a gas tank to me, because you put gas in it. Petroleum products, things of that nature. You can make it in a piggy bank for all I care. So I take these little strips, and I start giving them a little pushy in here, alright? Like I said, this is a very easy tank to make. This was actually the first gas tank mold I ever made. This is what this Champion gas tank came out of. I want to thank Mike and PJ, Paul Lyons, and Mike and PJ helped me get the donor tank to make this mold. This is a replica gas tank, so this is not an original piece. Very few things in Flat Track are original pieces, if anybody hasn't figured that out yet. Everything is pretty much a copy. So all of us in this industry, we're probably copying something that Cyclecraft made, the original Grand Prix Plastics before, like, Jake Latimer purchased the company, or there was an owner before Jake. So we are all either just continuing the legacy, or if we're making a replica, we probably most likely copied it. So, but this stuff is not patented, not copyrighted. Some of the newer stuff you gotta beware of, even if you're making parts for, but that's shop talk for another day. Alright, so we got that in there. Good to go. Alrighty, so we got that in there. I'm gonna take this and give it the old dippity dippity. I like to put my fingers right here and hold that area right there because I got some mold release there. It's pretty easy to take out. And then I like to start working her in. Nice and easy. Now, I'll tell you guys in a second why don't have the outside of the gas tank coated with anything. And it might actually baffle all of you. But that's just the way she goes. Shouldn't be that baffling, but someone will be baffled. Someone's mind will be blown. Now we're going to our last two strips. So, there we go. Good to go here. So, that won't need a full. We're only going to go about a half. So, like I said, this is a guesstimation here. All right. So we're mixing this up. You guys could probably maybe see it. Maybe we should bring in the camera a little better. All right, so we're mixing it up again. And we're going to go to the back end here. But first we're going to wet these strips out. So here we go. Wet them out. Get them good and wet. Like I said, these are about 1 inch wide. Some tanks, some of them that I do might have to have some wider strips or some specialty pieces cut. Especially if you have a lot of undercutting. This is all wet out, as you guys can see. Very nice. I got a little bit extra here, if I need it. This will be slipped here. I say slipping it. I use a pair of scissors. So that's cut. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to come to the front area here because I did not get my two first pieces in here. So there's that. And then here's this. Alrighty. And I get them joined in there. So it's good. So now we're going to move our way to the rear of the gas tank. I think you guys can see that. We'll move it over there to the rear. Get them in here. Push them in. I'll take another one over here. I'll push it in with my hands. And I'll take a third one. And I'll push it in with my hands. A lot of times in these back and front seams, I like to give a little bit more, I like to put a little bit more laminate in those areas. just to play it safe. It's always good to play it safe. All right. So I'll take another strip back here, lay it in there. And I'll take another strip, and I'll lay it back in there. And now we're going to finish it up. So again, like I was saying, we'll hold the back of this gas tank with the petcock area. Work any air out you want to try. You want to get it so you might see some small bubbles, but you don't really want to see big bubbles, because that could be a void, and that will cause you issues when you Caswell it or leak test it without Caswell. I sell all my gas tanks are Caswell coated. I do not mess around. I will not mess around. That's not how I play. I want to have the best product on the market. And I feel in order to have the best product on the market, you need to do the best thing possible to protect your customers' investments. And that is why I use Caswell coating. So, now, if you're doing a gas tank, and I'm just doing this, I don't have to, but I'm going to show you guys. But if you're ever questioning something, like you're like, man, I don't know if I like that, you know. It's always a good rule of thumb not to half-ass it. Pardon my French. Don't be afraid to, you know, don't be afraid to do something and maybe give it a little bit more giddy up, make a little bit more gusto, where you need to give it some gusto. And in this particular case, that's actually what I'm going to do. I'm not liking what I'm seeing. Well, I'm saying I'm not liking what I'm seeing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, wet out some spots here. And I'm going to go in here. I don't like it. I don't like the overlap. I don't like how it looks. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to give it a little bit extra laminate. Like I said, it doesn't hurt. It does not hurt to do that. Feel free to put it a little bit extra where you need it. You should. If you question anything, don't be afraid. Do not be afraid. Come towards the light, you know. And then if I got extra, I'll take and kind of work the seams. Now, if you have like a big soupy mesh, you made a mistake, I'll take like an acetone rag and give this a wipe. This one really isn't bad. I stayed pretty clean. And it looks pretty good. You know what I mean? I got all the air worked out. Any big air I see, I got my edges nice and wet. The top's looking good. You know what I mean? If you want to check it, make sure. Sometimes, I think fiberglass got to tell you, messing around with stuff can make it worse. You know what I mean? Leave good enough alone as far as when you're laminating and stuff. And like I said, we're getting this done. Kind of getting her gooped in here. Gippity goopity. Bibbity boppity boo. And that's it. I think we got it. Alright, so I'm kind of going above and beyond with this, like I said, guys. Just for the example of my fans, customers, and basically the YouTube public or the world, the worldwide interwebs, to see how we do this stuff. This is kind of a dying trade. I am 39 years old, and I've been doing this for over 10 years. I was fortunate enough to pick up this trade. I now make a living at it. And it's important. It's still very much used in prototyping and R&D in the automotive and motorcycle industry. Still to this day, there's some changes. But it's a lucrative, valuable trade, and it is a legitimate trade skill. It's a no crap trade skill. And in my opinion, it's completely worth knowing. All right, so what I'll do is I'll dot this brush out. I got an acetone bucket. I'll take this for a dip just to play it safe. Every one of these things, because I'm grabbing it, I'm changing gloves. Now, you guys, before I get too far away from myself, too carried away, I'm going to tell you why I don't have this tank coated or jig around this thing or anything. This has a combination of PVA and mold release on it, all right? So when this dries and flakes off, I literally take a plastic stick. It takes me about 2 minutes or so, even less. I hit it with a little bit of acetone, give it the scrape, it pops off. Then wash it with some water. That helps too. And then bingo, bango, wango, tango. Great Ted Nugent song. You guys have heard it? We're done. All right. So this is what we got. You don't want to bump this around or anything. I like to set it off to the side over here and let it dry, as you guys can see. I have more to go. So without further ado, if you guys have any questions out there, feel free to comment in that little comment section. If you guys want to critique me, whatever, I'm very good at what I do. I'm worldwide. I'm nationwide. I said that twice, kind of like a ZZ Top song. I'm bad. I'm nationwide. And some people might consider me the best in the business making motorcycle fiberglass. At least this stuff for dirt track. Anyways, that's pretty much it. Check out Goon Glass and Rubber on Instagram at Goon Glass Rubber and Goon Glass and Rubber Facebook site. Without further ado, here we go. Gas tank, laminating halves, get back together. Let's make dirt track great again. Buy American, support American, and we'll see you at the racetrack. Peace.